Oklahoma's higher education system is facing the possibility of budget cuts. The governor's new executive budget cuts higher ed funding while giving roughly the same amount in an increase to the common education budget. The proposed budget reduction comes as the governor, legislators, and higher education leaders are pushing for increasing the number of students who graduate from post-secondary schools and receive certificates from Career Tech.
Governor Mary Fallin's State of the State address showed strong support for Oklahoma's higher education system.
We have to increase the number of Oklahomans who continue their education beyond high school, either by attending college or a career technology center. A high school diploma is no longer enough to reach the American dream.
2 years ago, the governor helped launch the Complete College America Oklahoma plan that, in its first year, produced more than 2,900 new degrees or certificates, far exceeding the target of 1,700 new degrees and certificates in higher ed and career tech.
Our goal is to continue the momentum for greater educational achievement in Oklahoma.
Higher Education Chancellor Glenn Johnson sought a $76 million increase in the higher ed budget, in large part to continue funding for the Complete College Plan. But the governor's executive budget calls for a cut of $49.4 million. Meeting with reporters, Preston Dorflinger, the director of the Office of Management and Enterprise Services, said information from the Regents for Higher Education showing the savings they have been able to make in recent years is proof that their budget can, in fact, be cut.
That is fantastic to realize that type of savings. This is what we talk about when we talk about reprioritizing spending.
Dorflinger terms the budget cut as a kind of reward for being good stewards of taxpayers' money.
That is great behavior, and we want to reward that behavior. So that's why we're repurposing half and letting them keep half.
But Chancellor Johnson says he will now work to try and convince lawmakers not to cut his budget.
It's going to be our responsibility to make the case to our policy leaders, to the legislature, to the governor, that higher education is a top state priority.
Richard Ogden is chairman of the board of regents for the regional university system, which includes 6 universities covering every region of the state. He says part of the effort to reverse cutbacks will involve telling what he sees as the accurate story of Oklahoma college graduates.
And I think we're still battling a lot of that misinformation from the Oklahoma Council on Public Affairs, talking about how students with a degree are not able to find jobs. That is absolutely untrue.
Chancellor Johnson says the facts will make clear the real value of higher education to Oklahoma's economy.
We believe that to stay in this top rung of states that is achieving well and performing well on college degree completion, we will need additional resources in order to meet those goals.
Regent Ogden points to a study commissioned by Governor Fallin that showed the role higher education plays in economic development.
The business roundtable that Governor Fallin commissioned in terms of the study found that the number one reason, by a huge degree, the number one reason why businesses want to locate to Oklahoma is the strength of our 4- and 2-year college systems. And
Ogden says that raises the issue of tax cuts.
If you believe and subscribe to the fact that tax cuts are meant to generate a climate for business, I think that you have to really examine that if in fact your businesses are saying the strength of your 4- and 2-year institutions is why we're coming there, but now you're going to be weakening them.
State Senator Earl Garrison, who has a PhD in education, puts it more bluntly.
Let's don't advocate another lowering of taxes and taking further dollars away. Let's do something to strengthen education in Oklahoma, and let's don't speak out of both sides of our mouth. Tell it like it is. If you're not going to fund education, don't get up there and tell them it's a priority.
Senator Garrison serves on the Senate Education Committee. He says Democrats will oppose the cutbacks, but will need help from across the aisle to have any real impact.
They have enough votes to do whatever they want to up here. Now, will we stand up on the Senate floor and debate against it? Absolutely. But will it have any impact in the end? I don't know.
In the Oklahoma House, there is also support for not cutting the higher education budget. Representative Harold Wright is chairman of the Higher Education and Career Tech Committee.
I'm against the cut because I think it would increase the tuition and fees for parents who are wanting to send their kids to college, and we need to work to keep that at, that limited as much as possible.
Representative Wright says decades of cost shifting has increased what students and parents now have to pay.
My concern is that what that has to do with the bottom line to colleges and universities across the state. The states continue to cut the percentage of dollars to the state universities through the different systems, and as a result they've had to raise the tuition to compensate for the cost.
Another part of the executive budget would take $83 million from the revolving funds of state agencies, among them higher education. Senator Garrison warns against that.
Because you cannot predict what's going to happen in your institution. That's the reason we have a reserve fund. I had it when I was superintendent in the public schools. I'm sure that Dr. Turner has it at Northeastern. What if something happened and they had a catastrophic kind of thing happen? You got to have reserve funds to reach and get it on an emergency basis.
Regent Richard Ogden says institutions of higher learning are expected to put back 1/10 of their yearly budgets to cover unforeseen expenses.
In order to be accredited, to maintain our accreditation by the Higher Learning Commission, that's a requirement.
Ogden and Chancellor Johnson point out the legislative session has just begun, and the final budget may in fact look very different from the way it looks today.
It's the kickoff in the first quarter. The legislative session goes from early February till the end of May, so there's a lot of time between now and the time the session ends.
And I think you get to a point in time where you cut, and then the essential functions of government stop. And I think most people believe that one of the essential functions of government would be education of their kids.